Join us as Women of Courage and celebrate you. Before we begin, we're going to take a few moments to collect ourselves and to relax before we engage into our discussion. What we need to do is to focus now on bringing positive energy into our lives and into the world. The energy that we project every day is the same energy that we get back. We have all seen those people that can walk into a room and they glow. People want to be around them. People feel better being in their presence. That's the energy that we need to create. And once we learn how to do this, our lives will be filled with greatness. We will attract that positive energy. And how we can do this is by changing our outlook, meeting every day with gratitude, thankfulness, optimism, and once you do this, you will see a change in yourself. I want you to take a moment and close your eyes. Think about everything positive in your life. Family, friends, a career, your faith. All of this is how you start your day. Every morning when you wake up, I want you to think about what is positive in your life. I want you to list 10 reasons why your life is amazing. You will see the change. You will be changed. You will begin to attract life's blessings. Lead with gratitude. Be thankful and think positive. The Women of Courage show is being broadcast by the Women and Children's Restoration Ministries to help you problem solve, to help you dream again, to help you believe that anything is possible. We want you to believe that you do not have to marry the first man you meet just to get someone to take care of you. You do not have to live a life of drudgery. You can educate yourself. All you have to do is learn to read competently. We want you to take a chance on yourself. Stop believing all the soothsayers around you that have never left a state in their lives. People who do not have courage to fly. People who only think of lying, cheating, and stealing. You can live an exciting life. All you have to do is believe that you can make your dreams come true. You do not have to go to bed with someone you despise day in and day out. You have the right to marry someone that you can talk to someone that believes in you and has faith in you as a human being. In other words, you do not have to settle for just anyone. But what you must do is strive toward your goal. You must be goal oriented. You must organize yourself. You must be clear about what you want in life and why you want such a life. All of us are made up of dreams. As our dreams unfold in our lives, our spirit soars. Realizing our dreams becomes a problem because oftentimes we are beaten down by our friends and family. We are beaten down at school by people laughing at us because of our shoe size, our ear size, our breast size, the clothes we wear, etc. We are beaten down by people saying nothing will come of our lives. We are beaten down when our mothers and grandmothers constantly say that we're going to be just like our father, an inmate in prison. Many of us are also discouraged when our mothers are inattentive. She is wrapped up in her new boyfriend. But life anew is possible. It is my job to encourage you to go as far as you can dream and as far as your dreams can take you. It is my job to get you to believe in life again. I am sick and tired of people failing at life just because they are around negative speaking and negative acting people. Do not let the failure of other people make you lose confidence in yourself. Yes, you may be surrounded by poverty, but you must look for a way out. The book If you believe in God, you do not belong in prison will help you. What you must do above all else is learn to read competently. You must read, read, and read. Anyone who laughs at you for reading, you need to leave that person alone. I do not care if it's your mother. Anyone who discourages you, you are to stop all association. Man is not different than plants. We need encouragement to grow as plants need water to thrive. You are to leave foolish, stupid people alone. Their ignorance will weigh you down or even get you killed. Sit down and think how you can avoid these people, especially if they're in your family. If you are overwhelmed with the tiring feeling that feels as if you're carrying a bag of stone around every morning when you get out of bed and think how you'll have to spend another living life you're not passionate about, the books I suggest are the perfect solution for your unique needs. Not only will we help you realize why these feelings overwhelm you, and what you can do to change it. But they will also teach you how to live a life of strength, courage, fearlessness in order to realize all of your dreams. If you are lacking the attitude and psychology, proper resource or vision to make your dreams a reality, combined with dissatisfaction with the execution of your plans, but you remain firmly dedicated to making your ambition a reality and creating the life you deserve, you will certainly derive the most benefit from professional, incredible content within these books. Contents that will assist you in achieving the results that you are after. You are never to give up on yourself. Are you ready to leave your future to chance? Of course not. Take your life in your hand and learn all the necessary tools, mindset, strategies used by the men and women of courage. We're going to thoroughly discuss the sex trade taking place in our community and the country. For us, this is high priority. We cannot let the deviant men and women in our communities win just because we fail to band together and mount a defense. Before I begin, I want to say please do not ignore any of the information we discuss. If you missed something, email us at murdervoices@gmail.com and we will send you our links to our broadcast. This is life saving information. Whether you believe it or not, once your child is taken for the sex trade, there is nothing you can do and no one you can go to. There are nonprofit organizations that give lectures to prevent this practice and try to rescue people, but there are no state agencies that send investigators out to look for kidnapped victims of the sex trade. You are on your own. Think of how you would feel if a kidnapping takes place in your family, if your daughter or favorite niece is taken and sold into sex slavery. This is why we're going to thoroughly cover the subject of sex trafficking, hoping you will join us on Saturday in fighting this horrible, horrible crime. We must do more than just talk. Women have a tendency to discuss subjects like sex, sex trafficking, rape as if it happens to someone else. The subject is unpleasant, so many women choose to ignore it. This is a mistake. Women exercise the same behavior when it comes to rape. We do not want to discuss the subject. We do not want to prepare for the event. How can you protect your child if you refuse to talk to them about rape? You must find courage somewhere and be a responsible parent and discuss the unpleasant things in life. These discussions with your children can help them protect themselves. You would be telling them to look for bad people. The more you talk about rape, the better your daughter will be prepared to deal with the rapist. There are characteristics of the rapist, just like there are characteristics of a pimp. Why should you go to church begging God to help you when a pimp turns your daughter into a prostitute, when all you had to do was talk to your daughter over and over and over again about how men use women to make money off their bodies? It is foolish to think it will not happen to you. Start shaping your child's mind now. instead of waiting until she is in a caustic relationship that might cost her her life to start talking to her. Stop having children if you're not willing to fight for them. Fighting for your child means educating yourself on how to train your children and how to talk to them. There is lots of information in books that can help you. And there are also lots of organizations with information. All you have to do is reach out. Stop walking around with your head in the sand, pretending all is well when the ground is crumbling under your feet. Granted, no one is perfect, but when it comes to your children, you must fight for them before someone takes their body and minds. Sex traffickers are banking on our ignorance and lack of activity. Again, I say, no one is perfect, but when it comes to your children, you must fight for them before someone else takes their body and mind. Some sex traffickers are banking on our ignorance and lack of activity. There is something else women love to do, and that is to blame the victim. He asked for it. She asked for it. Look at the dress she was wearing. In other words, the woman was raped because the man cannot be expected to have self control when a woman dresses sexy. Men are so overcome with the thought of sex that they have to rape someone. This is a sign of self hatred and jealousy in women. This is one of the shows I would like all parents to listen to. Remember, a couple of shows back, we spoke about the word easy. Well, there are actually some people who believe in the word easy. The concept of easy is silly, but there are some people who believe they can go through life the easy way, making easy choices, doing easy things, not realizing that even breathing is not easy. There is no such thing as easy. Yet some people never realize this. They spend their entire life believing in magic. They actually believe there is an easy way to making money. They believe that forcing someone else to sell their body for sex is easy. They believe that all you have to do is beat a woman up and make her take dope and force her to sell herself to a man for $20, and that's easy. One such man who believed he could make a gravy train out of selling women is Ishi Woney. I'll spell it. Ishi, first name, last name Woney. He tried being a rapper, but when that didn't work, he decided to try his hand at pimping. He forced two women into prostitution in 2017 and 2018. He beat the women, he twisted their arms, and did other things to them to force them to sell their body to other men. Well, he got caught in October of 2018. Now, Mr. Woney is in a world of trouble now. And believe me, I'm not overstating this. Mr. Woney is getting ready to do some serious time. First of all, he was indicted in the state of New York in a federal court. Just like police departments have reputations, so do the FBI state offices have reputations. The two most famous FBI offices are the San Francisco office and the New York office. Both these offices are heavily handed in charging indictments. That means the indictments, they load them up, honey. The indictments are written to be appeal proof, meaning we are going to try you and convict you, and your conviction will not be overturned. Why? Because they have ample evidence of the crime. These prosecutors do not go into court unless they got a bucket load of evidence. Mr. Woney was charged in the New York office. This is the same office that handled the General Flynn case. Remember, the FBI went back to General Flynn several times? Why? Because they knew General Flynn was lying. He had 3 opportunities to tell them the truth, but he did not. General Flynn refused to tell the truth. What General Flynn did not know is the FBI had irrefutable proof that he was lying. This is the same office that is now going to force Sprint, that's right, Sprint, the phone company, to cough up $330 million for not paying taxes for a decade. I think that you can say that the motto of the New York office is that if you commit a crime, we're going to get you. This is why Mr. Woney is in a world of hurt. The New York FBI office has irrefutable proof that Mr. Woney had prostituted two women against their will. Let me read the press release for Mr. Woney. The complaint was published Thursday, November the 1st, 2018. The notice read, individual arrested on sex trafficking and other offenses in connection with missing person Karina Schlussler. That's right, he was connected to a missing white woman. Yes, Mr. Woney is black. Okay, it read, Godfrey Berman, the United States Attorney for the Southern District of New York, William Sweeney Jr., the Assistant Director in charge of the New York Field Office of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and James P. O'Neill, Commissioner of New York Police Department, announced today that Mr. Ishi Woney was charged with sex trafficking and other offenses involving the sexual exploitation of young women. Woney was arrested yesterday in New Jersey and will be presented today before the U.S. Magistrate Judge Sarah Netburn in federal court in Manhattan this afternoon. U.S. Attorney Godfrey Berman said, as alleged, Ishi Woney engaged in a vile form of exploitation using force and other coercions to compel young women to engage in paid sex for his enrichment. We will continue to work with the FBI and the NYPD to protect prospective victims of human trafficking and arrest and prosecute their predators. FBI Assistant Director in charge William Sweeney said, as alleged, Woney compelled his victims to engage in prostitution through force and coercion, and he used both this victim and Karina Schlussler, who has been missing since September 2017, in online advertisements promoting prostitution. Human trafficking is a top priority for the FBI, and as of today's charge demonstrates, we will continue to aggressively pursue justice for the victims of this heinous crime. Ms. Schlussler was last seen in Queens, New York, and we ask anyone with information concerning her whereabouts to contact us at the FBI. New York PD Commissioner James O'Neill said, today's charges further affirms the NYPD's unwavering commitment to protect the victims of sex trafficking in and around the five boroughs of New York City. This crime is among the most heinous in our society, and it is our job and the job of all local, state, and federal law enforcement partners to ensure that anyone who would seek to profit through the abuse and exploitation of another human being brought to justice swiftly and successfully. I thank and commend the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District and the FBI for collaborating with us on this critical case. And we urge anyone who has any information related to this case or any other to contact law enforcement. Together we will continue to make the safest large city in the nation even safer. According to the allegations in the complaint sworn out in Manhattan federal court, between approximately September 2017 and present, Woney engaged in sex trafficking by using force, fraud, and coercion to compel at least one female victim to engage in sex acts in the Bronx and other locations in exchange for money. Woney also transported victim one to multiple states, including New York, to engage in prostitution and purchase online advertisement promoting prostitution, some of which featured victim one and Karina Schlussler, who has been a missing person since September 20th, 2017, and was last seen in Queens, New York. If you have any information related to the whereabouts of Karina Sludger, please contact the FBI. Charges in the complaint against Woney, age 23, of New York, New York, are included in the chart below. The maximum potential sentence in this case are prescribed by Congress and are provided here for informational purposes only. Any sentencing of the defendant will be determined by the judge. Mr. Berman praised the outstanding investigation of the FBI and NYPD. This case is being handled by the Office General Crime Unit. Assistant U.S. Attorney General Daniel Wolf is in charge of the prosecution. The charges contained in the complaint are merely accusations, and the defendant is presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty. Now, these are the charges that Mr. Woney is up against. He has 3 counts against him. Count 1 is use of an interstate facility to promote, manage, and carry out prostitution. This has a maximum prison sentence of 5 years. Count 2, violation of the Mann Act. That has a maximum prison sentence of 10 years. It has no minimum. Count 3, sex trafficking by means of force, threat, fraud, and coercion. That has a mandatory minimum prison term of 15 years, maximum life. So on 2 of the counts, he can get from 1 year to 10 years. If the judge decides to really stick it to him, he can get 15 years for count 1 and count 2. Take note that the charge and the maximum prison sentence term. 2 of the charges do not have a minimum sentence. They just have a maximum sentence. And did you note, under 1 count, that's count 1, the prosecutor used the word promote and manage prostitution. The prosecutors are saying Mr. Woney was a principal character in the prostitution enterprise. He advertised the women online, he found the Johns, and he arranged for hotel space. Now note, the punishment for sex trafficking is 15 years to life. One must serve a minimum of 15 years if convicted of this crime before he or she can be considered for parole. This point is significant because one of the women he pimped is white. That's right, Mr. Woney is black. Karina Schlesinger was 19 when she disappeared. She was last seen in Queens, New York, September 2017. The family believed that she was being held against her will in the sex trafficking ring, with the NYPD telling the family that they believed Karina had changed hands from pimp to pimp several times. They did not know if she was still in the New York area. Mr. Woney was arrested. Mr. Woney is saying nothing about Karina Schlesinger. The FBI have tied him to her, but not to where she is now. Right now, the penalty for Mr. Woney is between 5 to 15 years or 15 years to life in prison. Now, you know Mr. Woney can be convicted of any of these crimes, and then if Karina Schlesinger is later found murdered, he can also be charged for that. Woney is accused of the use of an interstate facility to promote, manage, and carry out prostitution, sex trafficking by means of force, threat, fraud, and coercion with violating the Mann Act. Woney is also accused of transporting the other victim in the case across state lines for the purpose of prostitution. The FBI has Mr. Woney tied up like a pretzel. The arresting documents said that Mr. Woney was arrested first in November 2017. This is when the NYPD police posed as Johns at a hotel in New Jersey. Woney and the other victim in the case were questioned about Schlesinger's disappearance. Woney was arrested again in February of this year when officers said cops were called to New Jersey City a motel after Woney was accused of beating up the other victim. Woney was also charged with simple drug possession. The victim later refused to press charges in the first case. Another sting was set up by the NYPD October 2018. This is what led to his arrest. Cops arranged to meet the female victim at a motel in the Bronx for exchange for sex for $200. After that arrest, the victim told cops about Warney's role as a pimp. I am going to pause for a second to take a short break while you listen to information regarding willpower and encouragement. It is all a matter of learning new behaviors. And please remember, it is easier to build strong minds than to repair injured people. What I said is a modification of a quote by Frederick Douglass. He said, "It is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men." Now for my break.
We live in a society that has created an impression that a woman is limited in what she can do. The society lets you see yourself as a weaker human who should not aspire to greater things. Most of us grew up with that mentality and thus turned out to be unambitious. Good news is there are lots of women out there just like you who have turned their lives around dramatically. There's one underlying factor common to all these women: courage. They were courageous in the face of societal intimidation. They were courageous enough to move against societal norms that were unacceptable to them. They were courageous when it mattered most, thus writing their names in the sands of time. Reading the series Women of Courage is a good place to learn about the significant role courage plays in achieving great things in life.
You can find the series Women of Courage at www.touchedbythelight.us.
Reverend Dennis Graham, and we've got an interesting program going on here. We're training returning citizens and low income how to do industrial aerospace welding. And we're looking for more people to come in, and we're looking for investors, anybody that wants to sponsor. And we're offering this to the low income and the returning citizens for free so that they can get a step up in life and get an actual good career with a sustainable position in a sustainable job.
Menzie Salon and Spa is now offering $25 flat irons Tuesdays and $55 relaxer, touch-up, trim, style included on Wednesdays. Full body massage for $29. Barbers on duty. Menzie Salon and Spa is a full-service spa and salon located at 22884 Ryan at 9 Mile Road in Warren, Michigan. Call 586-510-4545.
I am going to again repeat the risk factors involved in the abduction or procurement of sex trafficking victims. Understand, these factors are important for parents to understand and to share with their children. Regardless of how vulgar it sounds, sex traffickers are always looking for children, and we must stand in the gap to keep them from becoming successful. Hello, everyone. We will continue in our discussion of sex trafficking, but I have changed the talk around. I prepared a report to read to you today. It was all organized as an essay, are supposed to be, but I'm not going to follow this pattern because I think the most important information of the entire report is the information needed by parents to protect their children from traffickers. I'm going to report this section of the report several times to make certain that parents understand the dangers to their children. You are not immune from sex trafficking just because you have a quote unquote good job and you go to church on Sunday. You must pay attention to whom is around your children. You must pay attention to the parents of your child's friends. They must be of good character. And please understand that traffickers can be found within your family. They can be aunts, uncles, nieces, and nephews. That is correct. One of your relatives can place your child into sex slavery and think nothing about it. Your relative will stare you in the face, sympathizing with you at the loss of your child. So this section is for parents. Pay attention to your child and trust no one. Pay attention to how your neighbors and friends and relatives react around your child. Remember, in order to be effective, the trafficker must get in proximity of your child to recruit. Remember, the motive behind sex trafficking is money. Anyone who is in need or desperate for money can look at sex trafficking as a solution to their problem. And who will be the first target? The children around them. Remember, the front line is the parent. You must educate yourself. Learn the signs of sex trafficking, learn the risk factors, and prepare your child for telling you when they do not feel right around a person. You must tell your child about some of the people who are not necessarily nice. Also, you need to help your child build self-esteem. Many people continue to think of human trafficking as a third world problem. That is not so. According to a 2016 report, there were more than 7,000 sex trafficking cases reported in the United States. More than 2,100 of those cases involve U.S. citizens. There is a belief that only illegal immigrants are at risk for becoming victims of sex trafficking, but this is not correct. According to Elisa Enrile, a clinical associate professor in the USC School of Social Work, explained that anyone can become a victim of human trafficking. The majority of the victims are women, approximately 70%. Victims of sex trafficking can be women, children, adolescents, and to a lesser extent, men and transgender people. There are many factors that can put a person at risk. The risk factors are directly related to the modus operandi of the trafficker. There are two main modus operandi for sex trafficking: abduction and brainwashing. The latter is most common. Anyone can be the victim of kidnapping, since it is common for attackers to use drugs and physical force to break the will of their targets. Traffickers seek out potential victims who are traveling alone or separated from their group. Due to the vulnerable nature of children, they also seek children because children are easily intimidated. This is why we believe that sex traffickers should be subject to the death penalty. The brainwashing technique is more convenient for traffickers because they make the victim believe that it is their own decision that leads them to participate in this illegal activity. So later they will not feel able to denounce or oppose their captor. I am going to pause for a second to take a short break.
We live in a society that has created an impression that a woman is limited in what she can do. The society lets you see yourself as a weaker human who should not aspire to greater things. Most of us grew up with that mentality and thus turned out to be unambitious. Good news is there are a lot of women out there, just like you, who have turned their lives around dramatically. Women like Mother Teresa, Lucy Burns, and Rosa Parks. There's one underlying factor common to all these women: courage. They were courageous in the face of societal intimidation. They were courageous enough to move against societal norms that were unacceptable to them. They were courageous when it mattered most, thus writing their standards in the sands of time. Purchase the Women of Courage series today at http://touchedbythelight.us or mail a check to P.O. Box 7267, Ann Arbor, Michigan 48107. Are you sick and tired of being you? Do you want another life, a second chance? Then it's time to change. It's time for you to find out who you are. It's time for you to stand up for yourself. It's time for you to think for yourself. It's time to rid your mind of poisonous beliefs like women should only be seen and not heard. It's time for you to learn how other women accomplished their goals. For more information regarding women of courage and to be among the countless women learning to manage the challenges, limitations, and rejections of life, go to https://touchedbythelight.us.
We live in a society that has created an impression that a woman is limited in what she can do. The society lets you see yourself as a weaker human who should not aspire to greater things. Most of us grew up with that mentality and thus turned out to be unambitious. Good news is there are lots of women out there just like you who have turned their lives around dramatically. There's one underlying factor common to all these women: courage. They were courageous in the face of societal intimidation. They were courageous enough to move against societal norms that were unacceptable to them. They were courageous when it mattered most, thus writing their names in the sands of time. Reading the series Women of Courage is a good place to learn about the significant role courage plays in achieving great things in life.
You can find the series Women of Courage at www.touchedbythelight.us. Next is extremely important. For a person to be at risk for brainwashing, it is necessary that at least one of the following characteristics be met. Again, for a person to be at risk for brainwashing, it is necessary that for at least one of the following characteristics to be present. Person have low self-esteem, have been physically or sexually abused, struggle with drugs or alcohol, having family environmental issues, low socioeconomic status, in other words, living in poverty, or have little social or legal protection. I repeat, the person have low self-esteem, or has been physically or sexually abused, or struggle with drugs and alcohol, or have family issues, or lives in poverty, or has little or no legal protection. You must pay attention to these risk factors as they relate to your child. Do not fool yourself and say my child has high self-esteem. Check it out and make certain. Now for a closer discussion. Have low self-esteem. People with low self-esteem do not feel valuable or worthy to receive love and constantly seek the approval of others, including strangers, and they do not feel able to reject other people without feeling bad about it. Traffickers are masters at manipulating and exploiting at-risk youth. These traffickers groom their victims, gaining their trust and loyalty by preying upon their vulnerabilities and showering them with praise and gifts. Tell your daughters that if they are in the presence of a man who is always praising them and giving them gifts, they need to stop and take a closer look at this male. Talk to your children about grooming. Discuss self-esteem with your child. Ask your child how they feel about neighbors, family, and friends. What you want is for your child to alert you to any changes in behavior of these people. Take nothing for granted and stop trying to tell your children what to think. What you need to do is help them learn how to think. Remember, a child is not a miniature you. They are their own person and they are entitled to their own thoughts. Victims that have physical or sexual abuse or after an emotional or violent trauma. Any person, especially a child or a teen, is in an unstable psychological status that can be exploited by traffickers. Uncles are good for sexually abusing nieces and nephews. Person who struggles with drugs and or alcohol. Any person or teenager dependent on drugs or alcohol is physically and psychologically unstable and therefore vulnerable. Person who has family issue or is seeking family environment. This is especially important in cases where children or teenagers who have never had a home or live in a home with constant conflict and where they are treated with neglect. This could lead them to have poor academic successes and inadequate social skills, and often they become runaways. They desire to have a father and mother who does pay attention to them and show them affection put them at maximum risk. In a child seeking attention for a father or mother are at maximum risk. Pay attention to your child. The victim is a child living in poverty. One of the factors that traffickers always use in their favor is the monetary need of the victims. Children, adolescent, and adult women tend to succumb to the pimp's promise to provide economic stability, but the truth is that the victim of sex trafficking has no control over the profits of their work. For the person that has little or social or legal protection, traffickers often demonstrate a certain degree of power and some even beyond powerful gains. So they approach people who feel at risk of being deported or jailed to offer protection, false identities in exchange for sexual exploitation. Once the trafficker detects one or several of these vulnerability points in his objectives, he or she will seize any available opportunity to seek out the potential victim, including in-person tactics at malls, bus stops, walking to and from school, and outside group homes. The majority of traffickers now seek children or recruit children online through social networking sites and use the information obtained through these methods to relate, to build trust with the child more quickly, and proceed to convince the victim to leave with him or her. To summarize, for a person to be at risk of brainwashing, it is necessary that at least one of the following characteristics are met. The victim has low self-esteem. The victim has been physically or sexually abused. The victim struggles with drug and alcohol dependency. The victim lives in poverty. The victim has little or no legal protection. Once the trafficker detects one or several of these vulnerabilities in his objective, he or she will seize any available opportunity to seek out the potential victim, including in-person tactics at malls, bus stops, walking to and from school, and outside of group homes. Keep in mind this information as we continue to discuss those men and women arrested and convicted of sex trafficking. This insidious behavior must be stopped. We must all participate in the prevention of sex trafficking. This activity is destroying our nation.
If you have reached a point where you are stuck, having a sense of tiredness, coming from seeing all of your dreams and visions of success get obscured with the lack of experience, guidance, and knowledge necessary for success, learning from women of courage may be the most important thing you've read this year. Living a passionate life in a hectic and busy 21st century is getting increasingly harder. Women of Courage series will provide you with all the inspiration, courage, and role model you need to get inspired and take your life in your hands and start living as bravely, as passionate as you deserve.
You can find the series Women of Courage at www.touchedbythelight.us.
Why are only a few women in history books? Why are women left out of leadership positions? Why are 21st century women struggling with the same issues that 20th century women fought against? The series Women of Courage gives answers to these questions. Millions of women all over the world are living in fear, unhappy, and unfulfilled, wishing they could do more with their lives. If you are one of these women, fearful and unhappy, take the bold step and purchase the series Women of Courage. Read and learn how other women met these challenges and succeed in living fulfilling lives. Read the series Women of Courage and learn how you can change your life forever. Women of Courage is an inspirational book that seeks to tell the stories of strong women who have persevered. even when those threatened by a woman's strength have stood in the way. It's a book for all women, a book to help more of us stand up and say, it's about time. It's a book for you. Get your copy from touchedbythelight.us.
Why you should read Women of Courage. The book will inspire you to begin your life again. Read how females took courage to live exemplary lives, even though most were from humble backgrounds. The books teach the importance of courage in achieving the great things of life. The books motivate you to look beyond those things you think you couldn't do. The books give you the insight into your innate abilities that your fears have suppressed. There is no greater feeling than creating a new you.
You can find the series Women of Courage at www.touchedbythelight.us. Now, please note how fast Mr. Woney went from an aspiring rapper to a pimp. Did not take him long. Look at Mr. Woney's age. He is not yet 25, but by 2019 he will be a prisoner convicted of sex trafficking. He can look forward to eating prison food for the next 15 years. Now he will get a chance to spend a quarter of his life in prison, all for the fun of spending money he made by forcing women to prostitute their bodies. Mr. Woney was a man with no plan, no talent, and no skills. He had no plan on how to conduct his life. He is a man who believed in what he saw. He never examined his thoughts. Pimping to him was believed to be an easy occupation. There was nothing wrong with using physical punishment to force women to sell their bodies for him. Who raised Mr. Woney? He could not have spent that much time in church, or he wore earplugs while he was in church. Mr. Woney left his home unprepared for life. He had no ethics, no empathy for another human being, and no character. There was nothing tough about him. When you get a chance, go on the internet and take a look at his picture. This is where the parents come in. Parents need to tell young girls that there are men out there just like Mr. Woney. They need to give their children examples of these men who are actually pimps. We need to stop sending young women out into the world unprepared for the predators looking for them. Parents need to tell young girls and provide them with examples of men who have no standards and no integrity. They need to show their children men who are willing to do anything for money. Parents need to show their children examples of men who have no principle and men who stand for nothing. There are examples in the newspaper. It's not hard to find these men. The man lying in the street is not the man you should be pointing your finger at. It is the dishonest judge, the crooked police officer, the lying politician, and the corrupt pilot who brings drugs into our country that you should be pointing your finger at. Stop judging people by the color of their skin or how much money they have. Judge people based on their conduct. There are more swindlers living in Washington, D.C. than the homeless man you see on the street who you despise. You blame the homeless man for his condition, but you don't talk to your children about all the swindlers and lying politicians. Parents need to tell their children over and over again that they do not want to be involved with people like this. They are the people who should be discriminated against. Pimps should be discriminated against. People should not be judged based on color, but on character. Parents need to make pimping real to their children. Instead of using race and money as a delimiting factor describing character and ethics, parents need to teach their children how to establish friendships based on who the person actually is. They need to find out how these men are making a living. They need to find out where these men are living. They need to find out where these men are employed. Children should be told that they are to snoop on anyone that comes in their life and they don't know anything about them. All of this needs to be done before a friendship is even established. It does not appear that anyone guided or steered Mr. Woney while he was growing up. They did not see that he had skills or training or attended a trade school before he graduated from high school. No one seemed to have told him what was right and wrong. No one seemed to have told him that it was not right to sell people into sexual slavery. Mr. Woney's behavior tells you about his home life with his parents and relatives. When one does not teach their child ethics standards, which is the foundation of character, this leads to evil behavior. In order for evil to win, it needs assistance. It needs help from onlookers, from outsiders, people who say that it's not their business. Once a child is brought into the world, it is the parent's responsibility to turn him or her into a human being. There was a woman living in Michigan. She was raising her grandson. Both his parents had left the child. Actually, they abandoned the child. The child was mentally impaired, which means the child had a learning disability. It takes specialized training to teach a child with a learning disability. It also takes much more time to train a child basic skills when the child is mentally handicapped. A considerable amount of time has to be donated in training a child in this condition. The grandmother was bound and determined that her grandchild should live the best life he could possibly live. Over and over again, she taught him how to greet people, how to introduce himself, how to make small talk. Gradually, she trained him into the idea of work. She trained him that he had to work to earn money to support himself. Over and over again, she talked to him while he was young. She told him that he would soon be a man and that he would have to work to take care of himself. So when he was 16, she took him to a local restaurant and got him a job as a dishwasher. When I met him, he was then 25 years old, which means he had worked at that restaurant for 9 years. He was paying into Social Security, and he was paying into a pension. His grandmother had to work with him a long time, but she helped him get a driver's license. What made this young man stand out in my mind is that he worked nights, and when the restaurant closed, he drove several of his co-workers home. They did not have a car, but he did. He was buying his own car. His grandmother taught him how to be responsible. That is true love. Dear listeners, help us save a life. Stop breast cancer from taking lives. Will you assist us in putting the booklet Black Women and Breast Cancer in the hands of 1 million people? Please go to the website www.touchedbythelight.us and download the booklet Black Women and Breast Cancer. Then email this booklet to 5 friends, asking them to email the booklet to 5 of their friends. We are trying to reach 1 million women with this information to save lives. The death of 1 woman to breast cancer from our community is 1 woman too many. We thank you for your support.
Oftentimes, fear is defined as fantasized experiences appearing real. We all fear something. It could be doing what's never been done, or being scared for no just cause. These fears hold us down and create a fantasized, albeit unreal, experience. If you must move ahead in life, you must stand up to your fear. If you must be successful, you must pull through the unreal experiences that fear has created in you. And trust me, you need a good dose of courage to do exactly that. With courage, there's no stopping you. How can you summon the courage to face your fears? As a woman, you're amazing and you have great capabilities. Do not let anyone tell you otherwise. How then can you maximize these great capabilities? As you'll find out in the series, Women of Courage, the women we wrote about succeeded against all odds simply by standing up for themselves. Just like them, you can make your life count too.
You can find the series Women of Courage at www.touchedbythelight.us.
Every year, thousands of books are written on how to achieve our dreams, how to live a happier life, or make a lot of money. Yet, the number of people living unhappy lives keeps going up. People living a life of uncertainty, a life of despair. What could be the problem? Were the books lying about these promises, or were people not practicing what they read? You see, the truth is that most times we know exactly what we want out of life, and we often know how to get there. So, what is the missing link? It's the courage to take that first step, to go from where we are right now to the life of freedom and fulfillment we so much desire. We must first leave our comfort zone, and it takes courage to make that move. And that is exactly where all those books failed. They tell you what you should do, but can't get you to take that first step. A wise man once said, "Without courage, you can't leave your comfort zone. If you don't leave your comfort zone, you can't grow. If you can't grow, you can't be your best. And if you can't be your best, you can't be happy."
You can find the series Women of Courage at www.touchedbythelight.us. The Women of Courage show broadcasts every Friday from 3 to 4 p.m. and every Sunday from 8 to 9 a.m. Please remember, if you are not in your car or near a radio during our broadcast, we can be seen and heard on your computer if you go to TV33WHPR.com. Again, TV33WHPR.com. We can also be heard on your phone if you download the free app WHPR TV Detroit Live, or listen to us on Roku at WHPR TV Detroit Live 88.1 FM. If you missed one of our broadcasts, you can view our archive on YouTube at the Touched by the Light Publishing channel. Twice a month on Saturday, I meet with my listeners for a discussion about issues affecting women. Please join us. For dates, times, and directions, you can reach us at murderedvoices@gmail.com. Stop thinking there is nothing you can do to change the world. Your life is important. You need to come out and join us and give a voice to our concerns. For more information on our subjects or our books, you can email us at murderedvoices@gmail.com. We enjoy your listening to the Women of Courage show at WHPR every Friday from 3 to 4 p.m. and every Sunday from 8 to 9 a.m. And we support your local hairstylist. Do not forget to go to touchedbythelight.us website and download a copy of the booklet, Black Women and Breast Cancer. This is very important information, and we would appreciate it if you email a copy of this booklet to 5 other women. We are trying to reach 1 million people with this booklet. Help us reach our goal. Your emailing this booklet to another woman can help save a life. Thank you. Thank you for listening to Women of Courage, and have a great day.